All right. So, one new thing that I wanted to kind of start doing is taking my audience a little bit behind the scenes with some of our group coaching. Also, it allows me to think things through, create content, all of that kind of stuff, which y'all know is important for building a business, or if you don't, you're about to. So, what I like to do when I do group coaching is, after I'm done coaching, I like to write down three key things, or, what were the big topic things that we were talking about. So, the big three takeaways. And then kind of break each one down. So for those of you business lingo people, so for the first one, that full video, which is what I'm creating here, is my long form content, same as a blog or a podcast. And then we'll break each one down into one topic or a short form video. So many of my students or coaching clients, we're talking a lot about content and how basically the market changes, and you always have to figure out what works, what doesn't, what builds the relationship. Ultimately, what I have found in the Ditch Hygiene Academy is people come to me because they feel a connection. I have built that know, like, and trust factor with them, whether that was over a week. Like, I have had people find me, and 1 week later they have paid $12,000 to work with me for a year. Or some people kind of have been nurturing, they've been kicking the tires for a couple years. But the biggest thing is that they love this long form content because I come out in it, my personality, my expertise, all of that kind of stuff. So we're experimenting in business, and you will too. So we did group coaching today, and I have some notes, okay? 3 big takeaways. So I'm going to talk each one through. The first one, so I would say this is for those of you who are new to Myo Business, or maybe you've been building your business for quite some time. Either way, it might be the level that you want it to be, or it may not. I mean, my business has earned millions of dollars, and I still have to create content. I still have to work to reach those people. So when I coached on this today, we were talking about training ChatGPT. Now, this can be Claude, this can be whoever, okay? This is just your AI, okay? I work a lot with chat. And basically the reason is because that's what I started with, and I have trained her. Okay, I do a lot of arguing with chat. I work with chat like she is my full-time job. The reason that I'm still here is because I have trained her. So in coaching today, one of my students was saying she was struggling with getting stuff that sounded like a robot, that didn't sound like her. So one of the big key takeaways here is that you can train your chat with writing styles. And so this could be copy from your website. This can be blogs that you've written. This can be social media captions. Anything that you have written that shows your personality, this is great. So I create a knowledge document. You can put this information just into a prompt. It completely depends whether you're working with the paid version of ChatGPT or whether you have the free version. But the nice thing about the technology of chat, as it continues to evolve, it remembers the training that you have done across the entire program, versus it used to only remember, if you chatted with it on Tuesday about this topic, it would only remember there. It wouldn't remember all the way across. So the reason that I still use chat is because she knows my writing style. She knows exactly how I want my paragraphs formatted. She knows that I don't want any weird spaces, and I don't want any asterisks, and I don't want any quotes, and I don't want weird spaces at the beginning of sentences, and I don't, certain words that I don't like. Like, don't use the word fluff unless we're really using the word fluff. Don't say you're not broken, those type of things. So in doing this, you can just continue to get chat to be better. Repetition. You are working on building a brand voice. And so if you put in a prompt, like you can have a document on Google and just keep adding to it. Okay, training your chat. Hey, this is the tone that I like. If you have the opportunity to take a workshop or whatever that helps you develop your brand voice, that's going to really be helpful, because I have already done that. And so chat knows that I want to be professional, tough love, but I'm a little bit sassy. She has that all figured out. But if your chat is giving you something back that just sounds robotic or sounds generic, doesn't sound like you, then you can say, hey, I like this piece, but I don't like this piece. Can you do this better? Can you give it this kind of tone? The other thing that's really helpful with chat is if you just get what I call a rough draft, that makes it easier to work from rather than a blank page. I don't know about you, but looking at a blank page is hard for me. But if I can have something to like pick apart, that makes it so much easier. Also, the other thing about chat is you don't want to sound like a robot, but you also don't want to sound like a textbook. So in the world of myofunctional therapy, I want my students to write at a level that a fifth grader could understand. If a fifth grader can't explain what you do, then you have made it too complicated. Okay. So I think that's all I want to talk about on that one. Next, this one, what website pages? So perhaps you're at a spot in your business where you're working on the website pages. So there's some pages that legally you have to have. Of course, inside the Ditch Hygiene Academy, we have a lesson that's taught by a lawyer that tells you exactly what you have to have on there. But this is like your privacy policy. There's certain things legally that you have to have with your website. But as far as many other pages, I think it's important that you know really who you're writing that content for. That is one thing that we really work on in the Ditch Hygiene Academy, is knowing who your customer is, because you don't want to be just a watered down version trying to reach everybody. If your zone of genius is not working with children, then having your website copy really be clear that you're working with middle-aged women that suffer from A, B, and C is really helpful. So I think that's important to know. But as far as what website pages, I think the best recommendation is to start with a landing page that has enough information on it so that people landing there know if this is something that they need. Okay, how they get there, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Whether they're getting there from a paid advertisement, a lead magnet, if they found you on Google, are they coming from social media? But just having something on that main landing page, and then you can kind of build out the pages as you go. I can tell you this, that I have way too many pages. On my website, I have pages about sleep disordered breathing, tongue ties, breathing, mouth breathing, braces, jaw pain, speech and myofunctional therapy, swallowing and digestive issues, tongue thrusts, thumb sucking. That is way too much, especially if I look at it now and see where my practice has evolved to. My practice specializes really in working with women who have digestive issues, they're not sleeping well, they really have an overloaded nervous system, so we really work a lot on nervous system support. So I probably don't need a page on my website for thumb sucking, because that's not the marketing that I'm trying to really get to. Again, I also don't have it a priority on my website or on my list to go work on my website, okay? So this is going to be totally subjective, up to you what pages you want on your website. Obviously, you need a landing page or a home page, probably a contact page. I always recommend that everybody have a scheduling page so that your scheduler can be embedded right into your website, because that's going to help the Google universe. That's going to help the crawlers, the bots, to know that, hey, this page is important. Meaning, if somebody clicks on the schedule your exam page on my website and they end there, that tells Google, oh, Carmen solved their problem. Their problem was they were looking to make an appointment. Carmen solved that problem because she didn't send them somewhere else. Now, if you just have a link to schedule and you send them to Acuity, then, or whatever, Visito, or whatever, Squarespace, whatever scheduling system you're using, that's telling the universe, oh, hey, Carmen didn't solve the problem, Acuity did. So I can look on my Google Analytics and see how many people are visiting my schedule exam page. Okay, so I have an analytic for that. So I think that's helpful. Other than that, you can kind of maybe decide what pillars of content. If you have pillars of content that are kind of your content buckets, and you want to talk about tongue ties, then you might have a tongue tie page. If you know that you want to talk about TMD, then you might have a TMD page. Okay, you probably don't need to have as many pages as I do. And like I said, if I was in the market to redo my website, I would take a lot of that out. Okay, so what website pages? Clearly subjective. Now, the same question that went along with this was how many pages on my website get viewed and what's necessary. So I kind of talked about what's necessary, but inside Google Analytics, I can see that the average views per active user. So this just is this metric is the average number of mobile app screens or web pages per active user. So for me, that's about 3. So me having a website that has hundreds of pages on it, people are on my website, they look at about 3 pages, and they stay there for a matter of minutes, for new users, okay? So that's the biggest thing. And of course, you learn how to use your Google Analytics to tell you this stuff. So one thing really in the program we don't go on is just what our gut tells us. I run a very data-driven practice. What does the data say? Because when you get that data and you can evaluate it, then you can make data-driven decisions rather than just kind of, gut instinct. So that answers that. Okay, last, MVP. So what does MVP stand for? MVP stands for Minimum Viable Program. And this is something that I teach inside the Ditch Hygiene Academy. Really, the real reason that it's there is for those people who want their time between now where they are and the time frame where they're earning money. They want that to be short. So that's why people come to the Ditch Hygiene Academy, is because they are paying for all of my mistakes, all of my expertise, all of the things that I have already figured out, and they want to not be in hygiene. Obviously, it's the Ditch Hygiene Academy, so they don't want to be in hygiene 10 years from now. And so the minimum viable program is basically what's going to get you there the fastest, okay? And so there's really 3 things. So in the program, there's a lesson called Ignition Implementation Lab, and that is basically taking the knowledge that you have and you have to implement it, okay? I have long been a proponent of implementation. This field, you can learn all the Myo stuff that you want, and if you don't go put it to use and you don't have the confidence and you can't talk about it without sounding like a greasy car salesman, you're never going to practice it. And this is one of those examples. So first, I think you have to have your knowledge, okay? A minimum viable program is doing just the minimum stuff to get started, to get some wind in your sails, to get some money in the bank, and then you iterate and you improve. My business has been running for years and has made millions of dollars, and I'm in the office every day doing something, improving something, evaluating what worked, what didn't work, what do I want to do differently. I make data-driven decisions. So first of your MVP is going to be your knowledge. That's your foundational knowledge about Myo. You've got to be able to talk airway focused ortho, tongue ties, all the things about mouth breathing, all of those things, oral rest posture, tongue posture, all of those meat and potatoes. How to identify oral facial myofunctional disorders. What are they? What are their goals of therapy? That kind of stuff, okay? That is your meat and potatoes. You have to have that for your minimum viable product. The next thing that you need to have, I call it nailing your who, okay? Knowing who this person is intimately. I have exhausted Emily. That is my ideal customer avatar. I know everything that there is to know about exhausted Emily, and all of my marketing, everything is written to her. This goes back to me not needing thumb sucking on my website, because that's not really the customer that I'm going after, okay? So when we're keeping things simple and allowing things to be simple and building this profitable practice, knowing your who is going to make things easier for you, because how can you write your offer if you don't know who you're selling it to, okay? So this is the third piece of basically your minimum viable program. So when you know your who, then you can come up with your offer. The other thing that goes right along with that is doing business. Once you have your Myo knowledge and you know who it is that your ideal customer avatar is, okay, that doesn't mean you won't help outliers, but when you know who that person is and what your offer is, and knowing when you do business, then you can be raising your hand all the time saying, I can help you, I can help you. So many students want to wait till they feel totally comfortable and everything's perfect and they have their website built and all of that before they start telling people that you can help them. And that's going to hold you back from making money in your business. So it gets to be easy. It really is easy if you choose to not be overwhelmed by everything. Okay, so that's the concept of the MVP. So if you're building your business, of course, we tackle all of this in the Ditch Hygiene Academy, but I think you need to have your knowledge. So in the Ditch Hygiene Academy, that would be stage 1, and then know your who, and then and your who is not everybody. Okay, your who is not anybody with a personal pulse. Bad idea. Okay, you can't be everything to everybody. Like I said, yes, you'll have outliers, but you want to know who this is. For my myofunctional therapy business, like I said, this is Exhausted Amy. For the Ditch Hygiene Academy, this is Sarah. For the Myo Business Accelerator, it is Shelby. Okay, I know exactly all the characteristics about this person that I can write my marketing. And then your offer. Okay, if you haven't set your prices, or if you're changing them every single time, or all that jazz, then you got to figure that out. Okay, so that is it. So that just gives you an idea of what we tackle in group coaching. Group coaching is many of the students, all different levels, because they come into the program at different times, but anybody can bring anything to the table. A lot of the time it is myofunctional therapy related questions, but also a lot of the time, these are all business. So this was a great training session, which I love these. So there you have it. 3 completely different business topics that should help you.